really come from a family who's been involved in public service, and it's kind of a part of our DNA that you give back to your community, your state, you do everything that you can. So it's inbred in us as a family to do that. My grandfather was the last county supervisor for Anderson County, Ed Poor. And he had, prior to that, been a magistrate. I have a cousin who's been governor of South Carolina. My great-grandfather was in the State House as well. So it's more of an innate quality, I think, in our family that you give back. I'm in my second year in the House of Representatives serving District 7.
And who asked you to run? What made you decide you wanted to take on this role?
Well, it was really kind of a sad situation. Senator Billy Odell passed away. And you know, I thought maybe I would be interested in running for his seat, but I really thought that Mike Gambrill was a better candidate. And if Mike decided to run, then I decided that I would not run. So I waited to see what Mike wanted to do, and Mike did run, thank goodness. So Mike is our senator for Senate District 4, and then I decided to run for his seat in the House District 7.
What are some things people need to know about the Anderson County Legislative Delegation that might not know much about who y'all are or what y'all do?
We're, for the most part, a very highly qualified group, I think, that have a variety of backgrounds. In the State House, we all work very well together. Our number one goal is to do the best that we can for the districts that we represent in Anderson County and for the state of South Carolina. And I think we all have the ability to listen to each other. We don't kind of put the hierarchical seniority stuff in place, though we do seem to lend our ear a lot to Brian and Mike Gambrill because they do have a lot of experience. And of course, Brian being over Ways and Means is an unbelievable value to Anderson County. So in terms of working together, I think we all communicate very well. When we have local issues, we try to reach a consensus on everything. So, you know, it's a very strong group of people, I think.
Is it true that the Anderson County delegation seems to be a little more unified than a lot of the other ones that you see in the state?
Well, you know, I'm not sure the public opinion is always what the realization of things actually are. I do believe that there's some in the public who confuse Columbia with Washington. We do not work like Washington. Washington, you know, is its own broken system. But in Columbia, we all seem to work together very well. That doesn't mean we don't have disagreements. It doesn't mean that we don't have debate. We have debate. But, you know, once that issue is over, it's over. We move on to the next issue. So other delegations that I've noticed, one for example is Horry County in Myrtle Beach. They're very similar to the Anderson delegation. And actually, we all work very well together. We actually sit together on the floor. I haven't seen any visible signs of other delegations that don't really work well together. Now, there are some differences, but I'm not going to call them out by name. You know, I'm just not going to do that. But in terms of our delegation, I think, you know, for the most part, we're very, very strong.
How important is it for the legislative delegation to work closely with county officials and the local townships and stuff?
It's absolutely imperative. It's just imperative. And I'll tell you this, and I've been in economic development. I've run pharmaceutical companies. I've had a lot of experience over the years with businesses and economic development. I've actually been in economic development, you know, volunteering on boards, whether it's Upstate Alliance or a local development board, for years. It is absolutely crucial that the county, the municipalities even, the county and the delegation all work well. And that's the blessing of Anderson County. Our local officials, whether it's Belton, Honeypath, Iva, Star, in that area for my district, work well with their county council, men or women that they've elected to county council. You have the county administration. Rusty Burns has been involved in economic development a majority of his life in a variety of different ways. Burris Nelson is seen throughout the state. as one of the top economic development officials in the state. And then you have those of us on the delegation who have, been involved in a variety of ways with economic development. Senator Gambrell's always been on the LCI committees for the most part, both in the House and in the Senate. He's on the Rural Infrastructure Fund in the Senate on that committee or commission, which is unheard of for a first-term senator. So they recognize his experience there. And then Brian White. And the key to all of it is we communicate with each other, all the way through the process, from the local level up to the state. So it's like one giant team trying to always put the right pieces in place. That's not always the case in other areas of the state. There begins to be some kind of turf war here or turf war there. Not in our case. And we have some important pieces. Brian White, as chairman of Ways and Means, is involved in virtually, or at least almost, every economic development effort in the state of South Carolina. People don't realize that here in Anderson County. But we're talking about Boeing, Volvo, Mercedes-Benz Sprint vans. It just goes on and on and on. But in our local area, it's TTI, it's the soft landing facility. And the one I'm really excited about is Arthrex, that's coming in Sandy Springs, who bought 200 acres and is creating a pact or an agreement with Clemson University and the Medical University of South Carolina, which will bring in more research jobs. These companies will also eventually have their suppliers come in around them. It'll be cheaper for them to be here. So these big companies that come in will also attract their suppliers as time goes by. Brian's involved in all of that. And that's the only thing I don't like, is Brian doesn't let anybody know that, and he should. He's done an incredible job, and he has a heavy burden with the entire state budget on his shoulders. I understand that, but so from Mike in the Senate, Mike Gambrell in the Senate, to Brian White in the House in the leadership positions, to Ann Thayer and myself, and we have Josh Putnam, and Craig Gagnon has a small part of Anderson County in the Ivy area, and then Jonathan Hill over in the Tambell area. We care. And then of course we have Richard Cash, who just recently was elected to the Senate. So we have a great team. I think we have a team who cares about bringing in high-paying jobs to Anderson County. And it actually starts at the local level, and I couldn't be more proud of Anderson County. I couldn't be more proud of what the county council and Rusty Burns have done, along with Burris Nelson and his team. It's exciting because you always anticipate the next jewel coming down.
Why do you think Anderson County's been so attractive, particularly to international firms? People forget Anderson County has the most international investment of any county in the state. That's talk about little known facts people don't talk about. Right. Why do you think international companies are so attracted to Anderson County?
Well, I think it basically is the hospitality and the welcome spirit they feel when they come to the county. Companies looking to relocate, they're not always met with a group of people at the county level or the state level who are willing to work with them at every place in the spectrum. They're really not. Here, I think Burris has a real spirit of trying to do what's best for Anderson County and to attract the companies that want to be here. And I think County Council does too. I think it goes back to Rusty Burns and his leadership, and we have some great people on County Council.
Shifting a little bit here, what are some things that are important to you? What are some issues you're really working on down at the State House this year?
This year, I'm chairing the subcommittee on transportation. And so for me, it's making sure that we get everything we need to get done with DOT, making sure that any policies we need to enact for our airports to remain vital hubs for transportation, for passengers, whether it's Greenville, Charleston, or Columbia, and even the smaller airports, and then the port and the rail. We have the two inland rails now, inland ports, which are vital for us. So that's the number one thing, only because I'm on that subcommittee and chairing it. But the other thing that I'm very interested in is the economic development factor. I'm always interested. That's my filter. I've spent 25 years of my life in economic development in one capacity or another.
What do people need to know about you, Jay, that have never met you and maybe watching this and wondered what do they need to know about Jay?
I'm just a regular guy. I've had some great experiences in my life. I was vice president of a college for a while and about 14 years, and went into private business and consulting and real estate. You know, I have a wife who's the love of my life. We were just married 30 years in January. She's everything to me in this world, and I have 3 young boys, well, 3 older boys now. I think of them as young. They're 27, 25, and 21. And my family is crucial to me. You know, that's who I am. And I love this state. You know, I really do love South Carolina. And Belton's my hometown. You know, my family's been here for over 100 years. And I love Anderson County. You know, both my maternal side and my paternal side have connections and were born and raised in Anderson County.
Your constituent service is part of what you do. I know that's a lot of times
Right.
eaten up by that. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they say, I've got a question for him or I got something I want him to help me with? How can folks get in touch with you? What's the best way? And also, what's your philosophy sort of on constituent services?
You know, I learned a long time ago from Strom Thurmond. That's the number one thing. And it's reinforced every day. I know Senator Gambrill hits it all the time, and he's always on us. Make sure you follow up with all your constituent services. That is probably the most gratifying thing that we're able to do, is to help people who need something. So that's, if you ask me again what was number one on my list, that's probably number one, or is number one, because there's nothing like making that phone call or sending that letter and getting a response, and someone in your district, you know, actually has something happen that they really needed to happen. And that's crucial. If they need to get in touch with me, there are 2 ways. My office phone, if you go to South Carolina Legislature online, you click on the House and all the members are listed. So all my contact information is listed there. My cell phone is on there. My House email is on there. They can actually email me directly from that site. And there are a lot of people who know how to get in touch with me around. So I was on Belton City Council 5 years, and they'll find me. But my cell phone number is 864-379-1379. And I try to return every phone call or answer every email within a day or 2.
And your best email address is the
jwest@schouse.gov.